this is just a heads up that this video isn't for kids and is more so aimed at the older part of the fandom. This is just a long-winded way of me saying this video is more for people 13 and up. Alright, that's all. Thank you. Honestly, I had no idea the second half of Season 3 of Dragons Rising was coming out in September until like 2 weeks beforehand when the season leaked again. Insane work, by the way. How do we keep doing this? Anyways, hi, hello, I'm Mika and I make art and commentary videos. We're just going to be doing a quick season review, nothing big. I'm just going to talk about what worked with the season, what could have been improved on, and what I'm excited to see in the future. As a reminder, this is just my personal opinion. If yours differs, that's alright. So this video isn't going to be too long, so I'm just going to get straight into it. Starting off positive, I really like that Jaya and Nia got a lot of focus, and I'm really glad to see that they didn't have Nia be absolutely oblivious to how different Jay is now. Of course, her emotions cloud her judgment a bit, but she isn't completely blinded by them. Like, she actively retaliates when Jay is being a grouchy jerk. I also thought Jay's loner personality was pretty fun. Sure, he could be frustrating at times, but you're not really supposed to be entirely on his side throughout the season. You can obviously understand why he's like this and why he's trying to figure out who he is on his own. Sticking to Jay and Nia's plotline, the Land of Lee was a really fun little story arc. Lee was a fun villain, and like Jay, you can really understand where he's coming from. Honestly, I thought his arc was going to end up with him losing his captives and letting them all go, but then leaving the land himself with the people who deliver his supplies. I thought they were going to be his friends because they do seem to genuinely like him. Moving on, I really liked whenever we'd swap to the Kai, Cole, and Frax subplot, but I think I'm just biased since I like Kai and Cole as a duo. Personally, used to be really big on lava shipping, but that's not really relevant right now. Just showcasing my bias. We finally learned that Wu had led Cole to the Source Dragon of Balance's skeleton back in Season 1, and the three dig it up from the ground. We also get another scene surrounding Cole's time in the Land of Lost Things, and we see his emotions get the better of him to the point where Kai has to talk him down. Something similar happens again in a later episode where Kai talks somebody else down, and I do really like this trend of Kai being a voice of reason. It was already pretty present in previous seasons, but I really do like it. Especially since he can still be pretty hot-headed, so it's very much a do as I say, not as I do type of thing. I just really like that character trait. Staying on the topic of Kai, I really like the hug he shares with Sora after she gets back. I really feel like he used to only really interact with Wildfire out of the new cast, so seeing this moment with Sora after all his interactions with Frack was super refreshing. Speaking of Sora, I really like that Eren chose her over his parents. Of course, we already knew that they were alive at this point, but I feel like it was a step in the right direction for his character before finally turning on Roz. Also, Cruncha and Knuckle got a little cameo in the Sora-Eren plotline, and I got so giddy. Hearing the little tune in a new episode was really nice. I really like that the ninja going against the Source Dragon's wishes, aka awakening the Archdragon of Focus, to use to fight off Thunderfang had consequences. The Source Dragons of Focus, Life, and Strength all withdrew from the council, and as a result, a few elemental masters have most likely lost their powers. Or actually, we don't know the full extent of the power shortage, but we do know for a fact that Lloyd is losing his connection, and at minimum, Zane, Sora, Cole, and Geo will also lose their powers since they're all connected to one of the Source Dragons that have left. But Wildfire, Frack, Jay, Kai, and Nia should hopefully be fine since their dragons are still on the council and didn't feel a shift as quickly as Sora and Lloyd did, but they still reacted. Eren's little hug with his parents was really cute, but it must hurt to get lost again basically immediately after, so I'm excited to see how they play around with that. Okay, so I feel like you all know what I'm gonna say. Where are Pixel and Zane? I know them leaving was probably just set up for their arc in the next season, but if it's not, I don't know. Zane's been shoved to the side so much in Dragons Rising, and we've been waiting for Pixel for so long that it feels like a punch in the gut to just have them fly off before the main story even begins. I think this is the first time we see them kissing anyway though, so that's cute. Cole also kind of got the same treatment, but at least he still got a few good moments. I really thought he was going to tag along with Nia, Jay, and Lloyd on their little adventure, especially since Jay said he could only bring 3 people into the administration, and then they brought Wildfire instead. I can excuse this from a storytelling standpoint, because going back and forth between realms to the monastery and then back again would just complicate things too much, because they needed Wildfire to go see Roby and use her to activate the bots, and I feel like adding Cole into the whole amnesia storyline would probably be too much for this season, but I'm still disappointed. I mean, I'm glad Kai's with Nia and Jay next season, but I wouldn't have been too disappointed if it were Cole who went with them instead. Yeah, he was hollowed out halfway through, which I also have a problem with, but I can't even say I wish they hollowed out Kai instead, because he was already beat over the head by the narrative in season 2, but I feel like that would have been a fun way to add on to Cole's guilt. Kai's lectured Cole about having his emotions take the better of him, and then, I don't know, maybe after Kai runs out with his new prismatic weapon, he sees Cole about to get attacked by some Dragonians. So Kai runs in to save Cole, only for his soul to be taken. And then Cole is just hit with even more guilt and a reality check before bringing Kai back to the monastery. Not wanting another person in their family to be hollowed out, he goes to help Nia after hearing Jay ditched her. I don't know, I just thought that would have been a fun way to swap them out, but I can also understand why they didn't do that. A lot of my complaints for this season just come from a lack of character moments, because if I may talk about Moro really quick, like a lot of people, I'm pretty disappointed by the fact he didn't interact with Lloyd after all the souls were released. Like, Lloyd and Aaron were in his village, and yet... Anyways, back to complaining about characters that actually mattered to the show. Ryu's training felt forced. Well, okay, not his training, more the outcome of his training. With Sora and Aaron, we've seen them work up to Spinjitzu, creating smaller tornadoes before upgrading to an actual Spinjitzu tornado, but Ryu just makes one. I guess you could argue that the original ninja didn't really train either, but we saw enough of Kai training on the obstacle course that we understood how they got to the point of creating a Spinjitzu tornado in the pilots. Like, there's a distinct difference, I feel like. And then of course we didn't see Nia training at all, but we didn't really need to, I guess. It did feel a little hollow when we first saw her use Spinjitzu, well, outside of season 2, but they didn't make a big deal out of it like they did with Ryu. I don't know, maybe this is just a me problem, but all of his training was shoved into short little scenes or done off screen, so his Spinjitzu reveal just felt shallow. I think this comes from Dragon's Rising's cast feeling a bit overcrowded now. Ninjago's cast has always been big, but they've always been able to manage it pretty well. But then they started adding characters, and again, this isn't a topic for this video, but you could really feel it this season. Anyways, while I like Aaron and Sora's scene where they split from Roz, their whole arc sort of just feels flat. Like, it makes sense in the beginning, Aaron needs to be with Roz to support him and help him recover while Aaron learns Spinjitzu, but Sora's presence kind of just feels unnecessary. Like I said earlier, I liked that she was there so Aaron could progress his character, but it didn't really feel like they progressed Sora's character in any way. I don't know, she was there to keep Aaron's morale up, but Aaron could have figured out that Roz didn't actually need him on his own. The only thing I'd say as like a last little note is I kind of just found anything that didn't revolve around Jay, Nia, Kai, or Cole to be pretty boring. That might just be a bias though, because like I've said before, Kai, Jay, and Nia are my favorite characters in the show, and Kai and Cole are just like a favorite pairing of mine. So I mentioned this in my first section, but I'm actually really excited to see what happens with the split. Mainly for Kai, Jay, and Nia, but I think that's just my bias speaking through since they're my top 3 characters. I also saw somebody theorize that they ended up in the land of monsters, so I'm excited to see how that affects like all of them. Specifically Kai, but again, bias, he's my favorite character in the whole show, and he has been since I was 8. I remember before season 3 part 1 came out, we were all theorizing that Kai and Nia would properly hunt hunt Jay down and end up as a trio. So I'm really excited to see that little group finally come together, even if I would have preferred Cole to come with them instead of Kai. I also really hope Zane and Pixel's vacation take them somewhere that advances the plot. While it was frustrating to see them running out of this half of the season, I feel like narratively they wouldn't just go off without having anything come from it. I'm also pretty excited to see how they handle the loss of their powers, especially with Lloyd, since he hasn't really gone through this before. Sure, he's lost his golden powers and he lost his element in the Tournament of Elements and Sources, but both of those last instances lasted what, 5 seconds? Now it's his turn to deal with being powerless. Oh, I guess he didn't have powers in Prime Empire, but he didn't really lose them? He just couldn't use them in the video game, if that makes sense. Oh, hey, wait, Kai didn't lose his powers for once. Finally. Now, Lego, please bring Moro back, I'm begging you. If not to interact with Lloyd, at least have him interact with Euphrasia. Overall, I really did enjoy the season. Honestly, despite what it may seem like, there isn't really that much I wanted to complain about, but most of what I didn't like just fell into the same category of where is this character? But how did you feel about this half of the season? Enjoyed it? Hated it? Please let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. I make art and commentary videos, and your support will mean the world to me. If you want to see more of me, my Etsy, where I sell acrylic charms, stickers, button pins, and art prints, can be found in the description alongside all my other social links. I believe that's all. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!